Hey there, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you'll join me in my love of crafting and DIYs and hit that subscribe button. Today's projects are part of the 5 Under 5 challenge that I will tell you all about later. But for now, let's just jump right into these Easter projects. For this project, we're going to make a family bunny sign. You will need 2 of the large wooden bunnies I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I bought these last year. 2 small wooden bunnies. I did get these this year. They come in a pack of 8, so we're gonna figure about 35 cents for the 2 of them. Scrap wood. This is a piece from a Dollar Tree decor piece that I just cut down to the size I wanted. We're gonna figure 35 cents for that. Mini carrot. They come in a pretty big pack, so I'm actually probably overcharging at 10 cents. Tissue paper, we'll figure about 50 cents worth of tissue paper, and then you'll also need twine, Mod Podge, a brush, hot glue gun, paint and antique wax, and baby wipes, scissors, sanding file, and a letter stencil. My total cost, roughly $3.30, but you should be able to do this for pretty well under 5. So the first thing I did was figure out the plaque, and I had this bunny sign, and then I had this plaque that was a little bit too big, so I just used the curvature of it, and I got to use my new little skill saw and cut it. I was not worried about the fact that it wasn't exactly oval, as it was going to get covered. And then I filled the holes in that as well as the bunny. And then I took some white paint and a baby wipe and just gave 1 large bunny and 1 small bunny a light coat. I just wanted a real light coat. And then I did the same thing with this warm buff color on the other large bunny and the other small bunny. And again, I just wanted just a tad of color. And then with my round or oval piece I had cut, I went ahead and gave it a nice coat of this dark brown. And then I took and cut circles out of the striped green and brown tissue paper. And then I cut out the foliage that I wanted out of this tissue paper. And this is kind of tedious, but I enjoy cutting. And then I took a full piece and covered the little bunny. And then I started covering the big bunny with the little pieces that I had cut. And this is, of course, after the paint had dried. I did find that if I put the Mod Podge on the bunny first and then the tissue paper, I was less likely to rip it. And then I did just a little bit over the top just so it would stick down well enough to stay. And then I did the same thing with the polka dots on the other large bunny. Put a little Mod Podge, put the polka dot, and then cover it. And then I went over everything. So then I went over all the polka dots and all the foliage that I had put down and just gave it all a good coat to make sure that it was good and stuck. And that is what I am doing here, is just going over, making sure that it is good and stuck. And then once it had all dried, I took and sanded anything that had gone over the edge. I put some over the edge so that, it looked like it was coming off the side. And so then I just went and with a downward motion, you just sand down and it just cuts the tissue paper right off for you. And then I did the same thing with the little bunnies. Same concept, it's just that you would be going all the way around. And then I tried to stencil this. I think I was able to salvage it, but I had a heck of a time getting this stenciled on there. I'm just not good with stencils. I tend to get impatient and just go too fast. So the payment for that is that I spent a ton of time doing detail work, going in and touching up all the white splotches I had. And then, of course, when you do that, then you go over into the white and then you got to touch up the white. So anyways, I spent a ton of time doing this. Stickers would have been great if I had had some that were the right size, or if you have a Cricut or whatever. But anyways, I got it to where I could live with it. And then what I did was I just glued everything together. So I glued my 2 bunnies together, and then I glued my plaque on, and then I glued my little bunnies. See, they hide where the plaque isn't quite oval. And then I added a carrot. And my little bunnies were just a little bit too camouflaged with their big bunny counterparts behind them. So I took a baby wipe and some antique wax and just went around the edges to make them stand out a little bit. And then I did do the same. I did just a little bit on the carrot. And then I went through and did just a tiny bit on the bigger bunnies. I didn't do nearly as much on the larger bunnies because, you know, they won't be camouflaged, hopefully. And then I tied some twine. I elected to have the knots in the front, but you could certainly put the knots in the back. So I tied it on one side and then the other side, and there it is. You will have to let me know what you think in the comments. Made a little dining table drinking glass vase out of a drinking glass. So you'll need a drinking glass. I got it at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. Floral foam and fake flowers if you want to put those in there. Or I elected to put a slender shot glass down inside so that I can put real cut flowers when they finally bloom around here. And then acrylic paint. I found this glass at the Dollar Tree and I really wanted the saying to stand out, but I didn't want to go buy any specialty paint or anything. So I just took some yellow acrylic paint and I just coated the inside and then tapped out the excess and let it hang to dry. And then when it had all dried really good, the only thing was there were these drip marks on the top. And so I just took a razor blade and just razored those off. This was actually really super fun. I just razored on the inside, the very inside lip, the outside lip, and then the edge. And then once I had that all done, I put some foam in it and did a bouquet. But this isn't really the look I was going for. I just really wanted that spring fill where you pick a spring flower and throw it in a cup on your dining room table. And so there's two ways, you know, you could do it with the bouquet, or then I found this little shot glass at the Dollar Tree and I just put it inside the cup. That way I could add a little bit of water in the shot glass and then place my cut spring blooms right in that. To let me know what you think. Should I, just leave a bouquet in it, or do you think it'll be cute on the table when the flowers finally bloom and I have just a couple daffodils or tulips in it? Wanted to interrupt these projects and tell you a little bit about this collaboration. This is the 5 Under $5, hosted every month by Missy and Emily, and this month's theme is Easter decor. And so let's tell you about those great hosts. So first up, we have Emily at Farm Charm Chic, and our other lovely host is Missy at Crafty Cove. And each month they have a guest host, and this month's guest host is Tammy over at Happiness Created. I don't know why that's so hard to say. I hope that you will pop over and see all of their channels. I know you'll find something you absolutely love. This project, we're going to make a mini pallet chick. You'll need a mini pallet from the Dollar Tree. I got it before the prices went up at $1. Some scrap wood, 35 cents I'm going to figure for that. It was just some scrap MDF from a sign from the Dollar Tree. Googly eyes, feathers, paints and brushes, and then a hot glue gun. My cost into this is about $1.35, but you could do it well under $5. And so first I took and cut just a corner piece off of a piece of this MDF from the Dollar Tree to make my beak, and I didn't like it the first time around, so I went around. I used a razor blade as well as some scissors, and then I took a little bit of wax and went over it because I didn't want the yellow to cover the entire thing real fully. And then I painted the beak orange and I painted the palette yellow. I realistically probably did 6 coats on the beak. That dark MDF is real hard to cover. I probably should have went over it with white first, and ideally like a chalk paint or a primer. But you can get it covered. It just takes a whole lot of patience. And then once everything had dried, I just glued the feathers on top. I glued the googly eyes on and the beak. And there you go. There's my little chick. This project is a little mini pallet bunny. I used a mini pallet from the Dollar Tree. I had got this before the prices went up for $1. A bunny pick, also for $1. And then the nose I used off of the same decor piece that I used for the plaque for my family bunny thing. We're going to figure about 35 cents. Googly eyes, paints and brushes, and then a hot glue gun. So I have $2.35 into this one. The first thing I did was give the palette a coat of white paint. And I just did a real light coat. I sort of wanted the wood to show through, and so I did do a light coat. And then I took apart the bunny pick. I was just after the ears, so I took the ears off, and then I removed the flower from the ears as well. And then this little nose was off that other bunny decor piece, and I just gave it a coat of brown paint around the edges. And then once everything had dried, I just glued on the googly eyes as well as the nose. And then I went in and glued the front part of the ears to the front part of inside the palette. And I had also made one that I just sort of took some paint markers and freehand drew a bunny face on, and I was not a fan, but my daughter absolutely adored it. And so I used the other bunny ears, and here this one is as well. When I was dreaming these guys up, I very much knew I wanted them to be silly looking. Now I really think that this would be a super fun craft to do with your kids. And I kind of want to make some more with the kiddos. Okay, weigh in. Let me know in the comments, which is your favorite. For this project, we are going to make a little bunny-shaped doormat. So you'll need a doormat. I picked mine up at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. Paints and brushes, stencils, scissors, and I used chalk to draw the bunny on the rug. As far as what type of paints, mine is going to be on a covered patio, so I just used what I had on hand. If yours is going to be exposed to the weather, you might consider some outdoor paints. So the first thing I did was take some chalk and attempt to draw a bunny shape. I must have done this several times over. You can see my little helper there helping me. So once I got it close to how I wanted it, I cut it out, and then I ended up screwing up his face when I was cutting it out anyway, so I had to redo that section. But once, like I said, once I got it to where I thought people might be able to tell it was a bunny, I started cutting. I initially tried to use a razor blade, but found that scissors worked easier, although it was really tough. It's not an easy material to cut, and this was not an easy project to cut out. It took quite a bit of muscle. You can see there I'm just yanking on the scissors trying to get it to cut through. I'm assuming that there's probably a razor blade or a knife that would make this project a little bit easier, but I did get it done with the scissors. So if you got a good sharp pair of scissors, you might have luck as well. And so, like I said, I just cut it all out with the scissors, and then once I got it cut out, I decided that I didn't really like his face the way it was. And so I had to go back and change that. There I am changing his face, just making it a little slimmer. And then finally I went through and sort of gave him a haircut. I just sort of trimmed up the edges so that they didn't have all the fuzzies sticking off of them. And then I painted. I had this chalk paint from Rust-Oleum on hand. And so I used it. It's a little bit difficult to paint this stuff. You sort of have to get down inside. So I sort of went over it with a brush, just like you would normally paint back and forth with a brush. And then I found what worked best was actually a dabbing motion, just getting paint on and then just sort of dabbing and smushing it down in. I probably could have done a second coat, but I didn't. I kind of liked the way it looked with a little bit of the black peeking through. So I did just do one good coat of the gray, and then I had to figure out how to get my letters on. I don't have a Cricut yet, and so I ended up typing up hop in Canva, and then I printed it out and cut it out. The first time I did it, I cut it out wrong. So the next time I had to cut out the actual inside so that I could use it like a stencil. And then I just took this black Sharpie pen and just wrote over it, sort of got it the way I wanted it. So I went over it once, and then I went over it and kind of gave it the darker areas in certain sections. Also with the Sharpie pen. And I just sort of freehanded this part. I just really wanted the stencil just for the basic outline. And then I did the same thing, only I used just some stickers that I had on hand. And I initially was going to do this thin as well as the hop, but I decided that I wanted the on end to be a little bit darker. So once I got it all on and had a good outline of the way I wanted it with the Sharpie, then I went back over it with black acrylic paint and a slanted paintbrush and sort of just dabbed the paint in. I mean, you can sort of run it down the line, but you're kind of dabbing it in, and it's not going to be perfect because it depends on where the letter lines up with the ridge in the carpet. And so you kind of got to go with the flow and sort of follow the carpet the best you can. And so this took some time. I went through and painted over all of it just so that it was a darker, richer black. And then once I had all the lettering done, I decided that I wanted just a few flowers on it. And so I drew out this tulip on it. Again, it's kind of hard to draw on these. Getting straight lines is really difficult. And I started the stems with this mossy green color, which I really loved, but you just couldn't see it well. So then I ended up going over it with a darker green and then just doing the edges of the leaves. I did try doing some shading and it ended up looking awful on the tulip. So I would just recommend simple on these rugs seems to be easier. I had a heck of a time getting it to shade right, and I ended up just going back over it with just the plain red. And then I did some for Cynthia up on his ear, and I just kind of free-handed this. It's actually pretty forgiving on this carpet. And then at the very end, I just gave them their little middles and called it good. But I did not call it good. I messed with the tulip more and did an outline. Here it is. Here is the completed carpet. Should I have left it without the flowers? Do you like the flowers? What do you think? This is the first time I've ever tried anything like this. Let me know in the comments. All right, here's a look before we go. First of all, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my video today. So that's kind of all over the map this month. We have the family sign, and then we hop into this glass vase for the table. And then we have sort of these fun childlike bunnies and chick. And, oh, you got to weigh in which bunny is your favorite. And then we move to a bunny rug. So I was just kind of all over the map. I really wanted to decorate my porch all cute, but instead I just threw it out there to show you what it would look like on the porch, but with also snow. So anyways, you got to weigh in. Let me know, what is your favorite? Pros, cons? Will you make any of these? What do you think? I would love to hear all about it in the comments. Thanks so much. Again, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.